end the year on a positive note. Everything will be fine.
Do you know what the biggest positive note is? And I'm sure you will agree with this, and most people agree watching this will agree as well. It has become so much easier, and people are seeking out so much more to connect with one another now that this COVID regime has receded. People are doing things together. They're going to shows. They're traveling more. They're
Mm-hmm.
interacting more. They're not in that bunker mentality. They don't have to worry about being yelled at on the street. In for the most part, I'm sure some place like in Boston, it's still an issue. That's fine. I think that renaissance in the idea of community is something in at least in my experience and the experience of pretty much everyone I know is very much on the rebound. And I think that is something that I am extremely excited about looking forward in the coming year because I think a lot of us, I'm sure a lot of us, if not all of us, lost a lot of our relationships or they all took a hit during the last couple of years, especially because there was this kind of binary where either you wear a mask or you're indifferent to human life, right? That's the mentality. And I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
now that that's kind of off the table and people don't have to have that very basic, like you're both people looking at each other like they're crazy. Like now that that's kind of receded, I think people are reestablishing those bonds. And I think if you're someone who's out there who is all alone, and I certainly count a lot of those people like among my fans and my audience, reach out to like social media for all its, negativity and hostility is really a great mechanism to find people to talk to of a like mind. Find a hobby. It could be stupid, right? But I'm sure that the people who breed like guinea pigs, they have a thriving community, and I'm sure there's this group who hates that group and they think they're the
Mm-hmm.
worst and these ones hate this ones because they're not the real breeders. Point being, there's so many activities out there that are easy for someone to find and go down a rabbit hole and get excited about, and there's going to be other people like that, and it's a very easy way. If you haven't been effective at making friends on an interpersonal level in your life, doesn't mean you're going to have to be alone forever. They don't even have to know your name. So if people are kind of repudiating you online, change your behavior, change something about it. You have that control to be a more social person next year than you have been this year. And it may take trial and error. A lot of people are socially awkward, but that's the beauty of the internet. You have the anonymity. So you can kind of figure out what works for you and just do some research and read some articles about like, okay, how do you make friends? I think people don't even realize that that's a technical skill that they can develop. And humans have these courtship rituals and they work in not just romantically, they work in socially. And a lot of times people are friends with people at their work because you're kind of forced, or school because you're stuck together. And when you're like working at home, you're going to lose that. You lose that human contact. How do you regain it? Well, there's lots of different mechanisms for doing that. And I think that's the kind of thing I would encourage more people who are lonely, and there's a lot of them out there, to be like, wait a minute, this is something that I can improve on. And it's going to take me out of my comfort zone, but that's kind of fun too, to try new experiences.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. No, that's a great idea. And social media groups, even I don't like Facebook, but even Facebook groups, they're dying off. But even Facebook groups are a good place. Facebook groups are a really good place to meet people. But Twitter, I know a lot of people who've met on
Oh
Twitter.
yeah.
I know like most of my good friends are through social media.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. Maybe all of them.
And then they introduce you to other people, and it's then you're kind of
Yeah.
pre-vetted, so you have this element of familiarity right from the jump. So it's just really just a great thing. And I think I wish more people. The thing that I talk about, and I know you agree with this a lot, is we are so. If you like with me with having stomach issues, right? If you live a certain way your entire life, just like you with your autoimmune, I'm sure in your head you think this is how I'm going to be when I'm 80. And then
Yeah.
once that first thing that you had your whole life changes, you realize, wait a minute, every aspect of my life is open to change.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect, but it can be improved. And that sense of freedom is almost existential. It's really very, very liberating and exciting.
Yeah. I like that. That's what happened to me. Like you said, was as soon as one part fell away, I I was like, oh my gosh, how much of it? And then three more parts fell away, and I was like, oh no, is it everything? Is everything malleable? Is everything a lie? But it's good because that means you have control. You have control in a way. It took me a long time to understand I had control of my relationship, which I think people get, you know, how people get trapped in
Oh yeah.
relationships and you're like, why are you still in that?
And they
And
have
I'm
their
a,
own
like, I'm
language.
a, yeah. And I'm a bright person, but it took me a long time to wrap my head around that, like, I had control of my relationship. So also, if you're stuck somewhere in a relationship you don't like, and you have been for like 5 years, you should not be in that relationship anymore. You
Yep.
should just end it. Your life is going to get better, not worse.
People have that sunk cost fallacy where they're like, it's think about it this way. If you have a house and it costs you $100,000 and then every month you got to get a new roof, new garage, new kitchen appliances, new floor, whatever. And you're like, oh, I spent 200 grand on this house now.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? Doesn't mean you have to spend another million. Like that money is gone. You're not ever seeing that money again, right? Or those 5 years are gone. Just because you've spent five, and I'm sure large parts of it of those five were good, does not mean you have to spend the next 50. And like, and it doesn't mean you, even if you, and this idea, like, is this really the best? Being single for a while is also not the end of the world. It sucks. Dating
Mm-hmm.
sucks. It's horrible. But is this, I had a good friend and he got divorced and it was just this long, ugly process. And he had been trying to make it work. And then he just had this epiphany. He just goes, wait a minute, I'm not going to die miserable and alone. F that. And now he's married and has a great wife and it's just wonderful again. But it's just, it sucks. There's no question. But the status quo you're in sucks too. And if you're in a relationship that kind of sucks after 5 years, the odds are almost 100% it's going to be much worse than another few. It's not going to go the other direction.
Yeah. The first 5 years were awful, but then it turned around. Yeah, I haven't heard
Is
that
that a
before.
thing? Can you? I hated this. Even any situation, I really hated this job. Then it got better. No, it's just gonna suck more.
Yeah,
Or
job
TV
too.
show. There's no TV
Yeah,
show that
or
gets good
TV
in this.
show.
What TV show gets good in the sixth season?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.